The mockery begins. The massive chamber of the Galactic Defense Council buzzed with quiet conversations in dozens of alien languages. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at attention in the center of the circular room, her Earth Defense Force uniform pressed and perfect despite the long journey to reach this place. Around her, representatives from across the galaxy sat in elevated seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of scales, fur, and crystalline features. Elena had dreamed of this moment since joining the fleet 15 years ago. Humanity had finally earned a seat at the galactic table, and she was here to present Earth's contribution to the common defense. Behind her, a holographic display showed the UES Resilience, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. The Thrakeri ambassador spoke first, his insectoid mandibles clicking with what Elena's translator rendered as barely contained amusement. So this is what the humans consider a warship. His compound eyes reflected the hologram's light as he gestured with one of his 4 arms. It appears to be constructed from salvaged materials. A wave of what could only be described as polite laughter rippled through the chamber. The Valdorian representative, her crystalline form sparkling in the chamber's light, added her own observation. The hull plating appears inconsistent. Are those patches? Elena's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. The Resilience incorporates adaptive armor plating. Each section is designed for specific threat responses. She had spent months preparing for this presentation, knowing that humanity's reputation in galactic affairs was still being established. Adaptive, repeated the Zephyrian delegate, his gaseous form shifting colors that Elena's briefings had taught her indicated skepticism, an interesting term for cobbled together from whatever materials were available. The chamber erupted in more alien laughter. Elena watched as beings who commanded fleets of sleek, uniformly designed vessels continued to mock humanity's engineering approach. The Thrakeri ships were elegant curves of biometal that grew rather than being built. The Valdorians crafted vessels from living crystal that sang in harmony as they moved through space. The Zephyrians piloted ships of pure energy contained in force fields. And then there was the Resilience. Elena admitted it wasn't pretty. The ship looked like exactly what it was. Humanity's first attempt at building something that could stand alongside the technological marvels of species that had been traveling the stars for millennia. Parts of different Earth ships had been incorporated into its design. Sections of the hull bore the scars of hasty construction and field repairs. Weapon emplacements had been added wherever they would fit, rather than following some aesthetic design principle. Perhaps, suggested the Altharian representative, his tentacles weaving in patterns that indicated diplomatic courtesy, the humans would benefit from observing our shipyards. We could provide guidance in proper vessel construction. Elena's hands clenched behind her back, but her diplomatic training held firm. We appreciate the offer, Ambassador. However, Earth's approach to shipbuilding has served us well in our conflicts. Conflicts with whom? Asked the Thrakeri. Your species has been in space for less than a century. What threats could you have possibly faced that would test such a unique vessel design? The question hit harder than Elena expected. It was true that humanity's space conflicts had been limited to civil wars and disputes over asteroid mining rights. Nothing like the galaxy-spanning threats that these ancient civilizations had faced and overcome. We believe the Resilience will prove itself when the time comes, Elena said simply. This provoked more alien amusement. The Valdorian ambassador's crystalline form chimed like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. How charming. The humans have confidence in their scrap heap. Admiral John Way, humanity's representative to the Defense Council, stood from his seat in the observer section. His weathered face showed the strain of watching his people's efforts being dismissed so casually. Captain Vasquez, please continue with the technical specifications. Elena nodded and began detailing the Resilience's capabilities. She spoke of the ship's modular design, which allowed for rapid reconfiguration of internal systems. She explained the redundant power systems that could keep the ship running even with massive damage. She described the adaptive shielding that could adjust to different energy signatures. With each explanation, the alien representative seemed less impressed rather than more. The Thrakeri ambassador interrupted frequently with questions that seemed designed more to highlight the ship's unusual features than to understand them. The Zephyrian delegate made several comments about primitive backup systems and inefficient power distribution. When Alina finished her presentation, the chamber fell into a brief silence. Then the Altharian representative spoke with what his species considered kindness. "We appreciate humanity's enthusiasm for contributing to galactic defense. Perhaps a patrol assignment in the Outer Rim sectors would be appropriate for this vessel." The Outer Rim. Alina knew what that meant. The safest, most boring assignment in known space, where nothing ever happened and nothing was ever expected to happen. It was where the Council sent ships they didn't trust with real responsibilities. The Outer Rim would be acceptable, Admiral Zhang said before Alina could respond. She understood his position. Humanity was new to galactic politics, and they couldn't afford to seem ungrateful or confrontational. As the session ended and the various alien representatives filed out, Alina overheard fragments of their conversations. The universal translators rendered their words with crystal clarity. "Did you see the weapon placement? Completely random. The power conduits are exposed in at least 12 locations. How do they expect that thing to survive even a minor engagement? Perhaps we should have a salvage crew standing by when they deploy it." Alina walked out of the chamber with her head held high. But inside, she felt the weight of their dismissal. The resilience represented years of human engineering and innovation, but to these advanced civilizations, it was nothing more than a joke. Admiral Zhang fell into step beside her as they walked through the station's corridors. "It could have gone worse," he said quietly. "Could it?" Alina asked. "They basically called our ship flying scrap metal." "They did," Zhang agreed. "But they also gave us an assignment. That's more than we had yesterday." Helena nodded, understanding the bigger picture. Humanity was still proving itself in galactic affairs. Every assignment, no matter how small, was a chance to show what they could do. 3 days later, Helena stood on the bridge of the Resilience as it departed from the massive orbital station that served as the Defense Council's headquarters. Her crew of 87 humans watched their captain with a mixture of pride and disappointment. They had all heard about the presentation. "Course laid in for the Outer Rim patrol sectors," reported Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen from the navigation station. His voice carried the same mix of emotions that Alina felt. "Execute," Alina ordered. As the Resilience moved away from the station, Alina caught sight of other vessels in the area. A Thrakeri bioship flowed past them like a living thing, its hull shifting and adapting to the space around it. A Valdorian crystal ship sang a harmony that could be heard even in the vacuum through some form of quantum resonance. A Zephyrian energy vessel danced through space like captured lightning. And then there was the Resilience, with its patched hull and mismatched components, chugging along at what these advanced species probably considered a snail's pace. Chief Engineer Rosa Martinez joined Alina on the bridge, her coveralls stained with lubricant and her tools hanging from her belt. "Captain, I couldn't help but overhear some of the crew talking about the council session." Alina turned to her chief engineer, a woman who had worked miracles keeping Earth's early spacecraft running on pure determination and creativity. "What about it, Chief?" "They think our ship is junk," Rosa said simply. "But you know what? Sometimes junk is exactly what you need. Sometimes the best solution isn't the prettiest one." Alina smiled for the first time since leaving the council chamber. "Is that your professional engineering opinion, Chief?" "That's my professional opinion as someone who's kept impossible machines running when they had no right to work," Rosa replied. "This ship may not be pretty, but she's got something those perfect alien vessels don't have." "What's that?" Human stubbornness built right into her bones. As the Resilience continued toward its assignment in the forgotten corners of space, none of them could have imagined that within weeks, that stubbornness would be all that stood between the galaxy and complete destruction. The storm approaches. The Outer Rim patrol had been exactly as boring as Elena expected. For 6 weeks, the Resilience had cruised through empty space, checking automated sensor beacons and updating star charts that no one would ever read. The crew had settled into a routine of maintenance, training exercises, and trying not to think about how their ship had become the laughingstock of the Galactic Defense Forces. Elena was reviewing patrol reports in her ready room when Lieutenant Sarah Kim burst through the door without knocking. The young communications officer's face was pale with excitement and fear. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," Sarah said, her hands shaking as she handed Elena a datapad. Elena took the device and frowned at the display. It showed long-range sensor readings from the edge of their patrol sector, but the numbers didn't make sense. "These readings are impossibly high. Is there a malfunction in the sensor array?" "That's what I thought at first," Sarah replied. "I ran 3 complete diagnostics. The sensors are working perfectly." Elena studied the data more carefully. The readings showed massive energy signatures moving through space in a coordinated formation. Hundreds of individual contacts, all heading toward the galactic core. "How many ships are we looking at?" "Based on the energy output, at least 3,000 vessels," Sarah said. "Possibly more. The formation is so dense that individual signatures are overlapping." Elena's blood ran cold. 3,000 ships represented more firepower than the entire galactic defense fleet. What species uses this type of energy signature? Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's the problem, Captain. I've checked every database in our system. These signatures don't match any known galactic civilization." Elena stood up quickly, her chair scraping against the floor. "All senior officers to the bridge immediately." She grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. "And Sarah, I want you to start recording everything. If these are unknown vessels in this quantity, we need to document every detail." The bridge of the Resilience was buzzing with activity when Elena arrived. Her senior staff had assembled quickly, their faces showing the same mixture of excitement and concern that Elena felt. "Report," Elena ordered as she took her position in the captain's chair. Lieutenant Commander Chen spoke from the tactical station. "I've been analyzing the sensor data. These vessels are moving in a formation pattern I've never seen before. It's incredibly efficient for space travel, but it's also clearly military in nature." Chief Engineer Martinez looked up from her mobile diagnostic unit. "Captain, I've been monitoring our power systems since the sensors started detecting these ships. We're running hot trying to get clear readings at this range." "How hot?" Elena asked. "Nothing dangerous yet, but if we try to get closer for better scans, we'll be pushing our systems beyond recommended parameters." Elena nodded. "Understood." "Chen, what's the fleet's heading?" "Direct course for the galactic core," Chen replied. "If they maintain current speed and heading, they'll reach the outer colonies in 4 days." Dr. James Wright, the ship's science officer, had been quietly working at his station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the movement patterns and energy signatures. These ships are using a form of propulsion I've never encountered. They're moving far faster than anything in our databases should be capable of." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. An unknown fleet of 3,000 ships, using technology beyond current galactic understanding, heading directly for populated space. "Communications, have we received any response to our status reports?" Sarah shook her head. "I've been sending regular updates to Defense Command for the past hour. No acknowledgement, no new orders." "Keep trying," Elena ordered, "and expand the transmission to include all Defense Council members. They need to know about this." Over the next several hours, the Resilience pushed its sensors to their limits trying to gather intelligence on the approaching fleet. What they discovered was increasingly disturbing. The unknown vessels were not only numerous and fast, but they were also heavily armed. Energy readings suggested weapon systems that dwarfed anything currently deployed by galactic civilizations. "Captain," Dr. Wright called out, his voice tight with concern. "I've been analyzing the formation patterns, and I think I know what we're looking at." Elena moved to stand behind the science station. Go ahead, Doctor. These movement patterns match historical accounts from the Valdorian archives. Descriptions of something called the Krillian Horde. The name sent a wave of recognition through Elena's memory. During her studies at the Defense Academy, she had read fragmentary reports about an ancient threat that had appeared at the edges of known space centuries ago. The reports had been dismissed as legend. I thought the Krillian Horde was mythology, Elena said. So did everyone else, Wright replied. But according to the ancient records, they were a nomadic species that traveled in massive fleets, conquering and consuming entire civilizations before moving on. The last recorded sighting was over 400 years ago. Elena stared at the tactical display, showing the approaching fleet. If Wright was correct, they weren't just looking at an unknown military force. They were looking at a species that had earned a reputation as galaxy killers. Have you received any response from Defense Command? Elena asked Sarah. Nothing, Captain. I've tried every communication frequency we have. Either they're not receiving our transmissions, or they're choosing not to respond. Elena made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Plot an intercept course with the unknown fleet. The bridge fell silent. Chief Martinez was the first to speak. Captain, with respect, that's 3,000 ships against one. I'm aware of the odds, Chief, Elena replied. But we're the only Defense Force vessel in this sector. If we don't gather intelligence on this fleet, the core worlds won't have any warning about what's coming. The Resilience isn't built for reconnaissance, Chen pointed out. We're a patrol vessel. Elena looked around at her crew, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their faces. She also saw something else. Determination. These were humans who had volunteered to serve on a ship that the rest of the galaxy considered a joke. They were used to being underestimated. You're right, Elena said. The Resilience wasn't built for reconnaissance. It was built to patrol the outer rim and stay out of the way. But sometimes circumstances change what a ship needs to be. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. I won't lie to you. What I'm proposing is dangerous. We're going to get close enough to that fleet to gather detailed intelligence. Then we're going to try to warn the galaxy about what's coming. Some of you might think we should head in the opposite direction and hope someone else deals with this problem. Elena paused, looking each crew member in the eye. But we took an oath when we joined the Defense Force. We swore to protect innocent life wherever we found it. Right now, we're the only thing standing between that fleet and billions of unsuspecting people. Chief Martinez stood up from her station. Captain, the crew voted while you were talking to the science officer. We're with you. Elena felt a surge of pride that threatened to overwhelm her professional composure. Thank you. All of you. She turned to Chen. Execute intercept course. Maximum sustainable speed. As the Resilience changed course toward the approaching fleet, Elena realized that her ship was about to face the ultimate test. For months, the galactic community had dismissed humanity's engineering as primitive and unreliable. Soon, they would discover what human stubbornness and ingenuity could accomplish when everything was on the line. The unknown fleet continued its relentless advance toward the galactic core, completely unaware that a single human ship was racing to meet them. In the vast emptiness of space, the Resilience looked tiny and insignificant compared to the massive formation it was approaching. But Elena Vasquez and her crew carried something that the approaching enemy had never encountered before: the absolute refusal to give up when innocent lives were at stake. They were about to show the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the best weapons or the prettiest ship. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one that everyone underestimated.